Hello, everyone. Good morning. So the last session we discussed about the Next.js application, the skeleton. Okay, how you created? We already discussed. Yesterday we discussed what kind of files. Whenever we created a Next.js application, there has some files created. Okay, each and every file has their own functionality, right? It's going to handle some functionality or not. So we discussed about those files, okay, handles which kind of functionality or not. So yesterday we discussed three files, I guess. Okay, one is like package.json, uh, another one is like package log.json, and another one is like it's a folder, it's not a file, node underscore modules. Node underscore modules is the file or folder. So if you observe here, if you want to download your packages, okay, or libraries which are mentioned in the package.json, how we can download using which command? npm install is the command. Whenever you run npm install command, it is looking for the package.json file and looking for the dependencies or dev dependencies section, and whatever you mention the dependencies or dev dependencies, those are like downloaded and keep inside node underscore modules folder or not. Okay, whenever you run npm install command, yes or no? If you want to install a specific library, for example, I want to install Bootstrap, I want to install React Bootstrap, I want to install material related, I want to install, okay, something else. Okay. If you want to install a specific library, then the time you can go with npm install that particular library name you can mention. Now, if you want to install with some specific version, not like a latest, if you want to install with some specific version, that version also you can mention with the at the rate. Okay, library name at the rate, that specific version you can mention. Specific version you can mention. Okay. Now, what about the package log.json means? It's log the versions of your libraries. It logs the versions of your libraries so that package log.json, it's like an auto-generated file. Whenever you run npm install command, it is going to create or not. The libraries what you mentioned in the package.json, it's just the name version only you mentioned. Those should download and keep inside the application, right? The package.json, whatever you mentioned the libraries, those are like downloaded and keep inside which folder? Keep inside node underscore modules folder. Keep inside which folder? Keep inside node underscore modules folder. Okay, so that whenever package.json, whenever you have a package.json, you can get these two items by running npm install command or not. Whenever you have a package.json, you can get the package lock.json and you can get node underscore modules folder also or not. You can get like a package log.json and you can get like a node underscore modules folder or not. So no, node underscore modules folder. Okay. Now let me open our workspace folder. So did you go through that GitHub related video what I shared yesterday? Anyone have any questions? GitHub related video. You know, right? The next workshop, Saturday's workshop is very, very important. Okay. Once your application development is completed, you have to deploy, right? Okay, whenever it's like while developing the application, you only person can see. Once my application development is completed, in the world anyone can see or not. For example, vtsschool.com is there. While developing, I only can see this website. Whenever I deployed in this particular domain, in this particular okay, vtsschool.com domain, if I deploy in this world, anyone can see it or not. in this world, anyone can see this website or not. So whenever you are deploying, you only the person as a developer, you only can see. But our requirement, our goal is not like that, right? Once your application development is completed, in this world, anyone can see your application like this you have to or not. Anyone can see your application like this you have to do it or not. You have to deploy your code or not. For that purpose, your React application deployment in GoDaddy and AWS S3 bucket and Azure, these are like a service providers. They are going to provide you some service to deploy your code. Okay, GoDaddy and AWS S3 and Azure via Jenkins. Via Jenkins. Okay, Jenkins is like it's a CI/CD, continuous integration, continuous deployment. Okay, software which is used to deploy your code in a particular server. How we can deploy, we'll see that. So for that, first you should comfort with the Git. Okay. Now let me open our yesterday's application. This is my application, right? I asked you to run the application. I asked you to run the application. Now tell me how we can run the application. Very simple. In the package.json itself, we have some commands are there in the scripts section. Dependency section or dev dependency section related to libraries. You can download it by running npm install command. Now scripts section is there now. This is for what purpose, you know? This is for to run your application, to build your application. Okay, commands you can find here to run your application and build your application. Commands you can find it. If you want to run your application in the development mode, this is the command. If you want to run the application, okay, if you want to just start the application, you can use this start, not like development mode. If you want to check for the linting errors and everything, you can run the lint command. If you want to build a application and deploy it, for that purpose, we are going to use like a build. For now, these three just, okay, keep it aside. In the development mode, which command you have to run? Npm run dev is the command. Npm run dev is the command. Yes. Okay. So the application is running localhost 3000 is the port number. So you can go to your browser, just you can type localhost 3000 is the port number. Localhost is nothing but in my mission. They allocated some space. Mission is nothing but one server only, you can say. Okay. In my mission, in my server, okay, localhost is nothing but in my own server. I allocated one of the port number, like a 3000 is the port number. Okay, in my server, okay, I want to allocate some space to run this application. That space is nothing but this port number in this particular location, specific location. My application is running or not? My application is running. Yes or no? Okay, so localhost 3000, simply yesterday you written some code, na? That code is visible or not? But our requirement is not like this, right? Our requirement is what? Our requirement is like, I want header, I want footer, and I want home, about, contact, like this I want. Okay, for that, you can start writing the code in our source folder that has the app folder also there. You can write the code here. You can write the code here. Now, if you come here in the source, in the app, how many files and folders are there? Fav icon is there, CSS file is there. CSS purpose is what? To write some CSS code. Whatever they written, I don't want to, I want to write my own code, so that I just remove everything, global.css. The next two files, okay, next three files are there. Okay, one is like layout.js file. One is like what? Layout.js JS file. Another one is like what? Another one is like what? Page.js file. Page.js file. The next one is like a page module.css file. Okay, now so far you know one kind of styling, external styling is what? You can create one .css file and you can import or you can use that CSS file in your HTML or not. But there has one more different kind of styling also there, that is nothing but a module CSS. Okay, how you can use the module CSS? Why we go for module CSS over normal global.css? Why we go for module.css over .css? We'll see that. In the module.css also there has some CSS there written. I don't want those also. So that just remove this one. Whatever the code there written, I don't want. Okay. Now, hardly in my app folder, one, two, three, four, five, 5 files are there. Okay, among these 5 files, so the execution, how it is going to start, I want to. Okay, see, fav icon, it is always visible in your header. Okay, see this in your create next app. Here, see, there is an icon is there, right? This icon we can say like a fav icon. That fav icon they added here. Okay, fav icon dot ico. That's okay. The next one is like, okay, global.css. This is related to styling. Okay, for now, hold. This module.css, this is also one more, okay, another kind of styling. Okay, page.module.css. This is also you can hold it. My functionality, there has 2 files remaining, layout.js and page.js. Okay, now. So my next JS application, okay, who is going to run this application whenever you run it? Now see here, okay, metadata, create next tab, description generated by create next tab. Okay, for example, if I do some change here, okay, will it affect anywhere? Will it affect anywhere? Now see this, create next app. Now, did you find any index.html here? No. Why? Because Next.js is like a server-side rendering by default. Okay, it's not like a single page application. What is server-side rendering? What is okay? What is single page application? We'll see. Okay, I want to show you. Okay, first of all, I want to complete this one. I want to write one single page application. After that, we can see the difference. You can easily understand. For now see. I have 2 files over there. 2 files are there. In my second file, page.js is there now. In the page.js, whatever I written, that is only. See, these are not used. Which are not used, don't keep inside your files. Just delete it, not required, right? Now, if you come here, first time load, which file, okay, which file component loaded, okay, layout.js has one component and page.js also having one component. Which one loaded first time? First time, which one loaded? Okay, simply you can say page.js, right? Okay, in the page.js, whatever you written, that is only visible to me or not. For example, h3, okay, such. Okay, you can delete all these things. Now see, first time load, my hello section is visible or not. See, hello section is visible or not. Now tell me which file is like a root file. That means which file content loaded first. Simply I can say page.js, but that is completely wrong. Okay, so this is which application? It's like a Next.js application, right? It's a Next.js application. Okay, if you take React versus Next, React is a library and Next is a framework. Next is a framework. If you observe their websites only, React is what? The library for web and native user interfaces. Okay, Next.js.org, if you observe, My next is what? A React framework for the web. Now see this. This is the framework, and this is what? Library or not. Understood? So my question is, what is the difference between library framework? My Angular also, it's a framework. Okay, my Angular also, it's a framework. Okay, this is our Angular official website. Okay, the current version of Angular is this. Okay, the Angular also, it's like a framework. Okay, developed by whom? Developed by Google people. Developed by Google people. Okay, Angular also, it's a framework. Now, if you come here, Vue also there, Vue.js, Vue.js. Okay, most for popular these all are like. Okay, my Vue.js also, it's a kind of the progressive, it's not like related to React, it's like a JavaScript framework or not. So Angular, Vue, Next, these all are come under frameworks. Okay, Angular is a framework, Next is a framework, Vue.js also, it's a JavaScript framework or not. Okay, but React is what? It's a framework or library. React is what? It's a framework or library. It's a library. Okay, usually you have a question now. Okay, what is the main difference between library and framework? Yes or no? Can anyone tell me what is the difference between library and framework? Anyone knows? Very simple. Library is nothing but, okay, it's a simple JS file. Okay, it's a simple JS file. You can get the JS file and load the JS file and use it wherever you want. Wherever you want. Here, no guidelines, nothing. Get the JS file. Library is nothing but one simple JavaScript file which contains variables, so functions, so classes, so all these things. My JavaScript, okay, my JS file is nothing but it's a library. Okay, whenever you want work with that particular file, first to get the file, you have to get the file and load that file and then use that file. Use that file is nothing but use variables, functions like that. Wherever you want, whenever you want. Okay, whenever you want. No restrictions, nothing. Okay, this is library. But framework is nothing but what you know. It is also JSL. It is also JavaScript file only. But okay, wherever you want, whenever you want, it's not possible. We have a particular rules and guidelines we have. You should have to follow those rules and guidelines. Then only we can say this is Angular framework, this is Vue, and this is like a Next.js framework. Okay, you have to follow okay rules, okay, guidelines. You have to follow the rules and guidelines while using that one. But here, wherever you want, get the file, load the file, use it whenever you want, you can do it. But if it's like a framework, you have to follow the rules and guidelines. Who provided that rules and guidelines? Who introduced that framework? Next.js is like some people introduced, Angular some people introduced, Vue some people introduced, so that those people only provided you some rules and guidelines, so that you have to follow that rules and guidelines or not. Got my point? Agreed. Okay, that is the next is a framework, right? So you have to follow the rules and guidelines. You have to follow their rules and guidelines. So what rules, what guidelines you have to follow? See, whenever you created a next application, whenever you created a next application, you run this application. While running this application, those people are looking for one file first. Those people are looking for one file. See, these are the rules you have to follow. Now, whenever you run the next application, okay, first they are looking for one file. That file is what you know, layout.js file. Whenever that layout.js file is not there, see, I'm deleting. Okay, see what happened, you only say. If I delete the layout.js file, now see this, I deleted a layout.js file, right? Can I run it? So close all. If I delete the layout.js file, can I run or not this application? Now see, it is gives me missing required HTML tag. The following tags are missing, root layout or something like this. It gives me okay an error or not. Yes or no. So it is looking for layout.js file. Now just let me add it, revert it back. Okay, now layout.js file is there. Whenever it is there, it is working. Now if I change the name also, okay, obviously it should gives me an error or not. Whenever I changed the name is like layout one, again it is gives me what, an error or not. First question is like, my Next.js people while running the application, which file they are looking for? Come on, they are looking for which file?
Layout.
Layout.js file or not? Okay, layout.js file is there. In the layout.js file, what they are looking for? That is also question, right? What they are looking for? In the layout.js file, what they are looking for? Anyone guess? Okay. Now they are looking for what? One component. Okay. But if I change the component is like triple X, okay, will it work or not work? Will it work or not work? Still it is working. See, I changed the name. Okay, I changed the name. Okay, root to layout. For example, I changed the name. Still it is working or not working? If it is working, okay, why it is working? Why not gives me any error? Can anyone justify? Very simple. They are looking for which file? Next.js people. Next.js people looking for which file? Come on.
Layout.js.
Layout.js file. From this particular file, okay, they are expecting one component. Okay, they are expecting what? One component. So that they want to import from this particular file one component like this. Like this. Now tell me, if you see the statement like this, can anyone tell me layout.js export with default or without default? This year layout.js export with default or without default? With default or not? Why destructuring format is not there na? If it is there like this, okay, my layout.js exported b with default or without default? Without default. Whenever you write like this, my layout.js export with default A, export without default B or not? Yes or no? Okay. So if it is like export default, how many export defaults we can write for a single file? How many export defaults we can write for one file?
One.
Only one maximum. Okay. If it is like only one, can I refer with the same name or any name? Come on. Same name or any name?
Any name.
In the class, only one person is there. I can call him with any name or not? Yes or no? Okay, that's the reason. If I write here root to layout, for example, okay, if I change the name here, will it affect or not affect? Not affect. Why? Because export default A, you exported with default. That's the reason you can import with any name or not. So it is not affected here or not. Understood, right? Why we go for export default? Why not export without default? Okay, it's like loosely coupled or not? if I do any change in my layout.js, it is not impact in my next.js library or not. It is not impact here or not. These things where they're written in the next library. Okay, next library already there, na? Next library loaded or not in the package.json. If you observe, we have the next library, yes or no? Okay, so that whenever it's like export default, I can refer with any name. He can change the name, no problem at all. Why? Because export default I can refer with any name. So if you do the change also, it's not impact on my okay next.js library. So that it's like tightly coupled or loosely coupled. It's like loosely coupled or not. Yes or no? Now, can you come here? Layout.js, okay, they export without default. Will it work or not work? Will it work or not work? It will not work. Okay, can you read it? The default export is not a React component. See, from the layout.js, I am expecting with curly braces or without curly braces. Without curly braces means export default. I am expecting a export default value. But here, export default value there or not there? Not there. If it is not there, what is the default value? Undefined. Okay, you are looking for one variable. Okay, one value. That value is not there in JavaScript means what is the default value? Undefined or not. Now you can see the error, so you can understand. So the default export is not a recurrent component. That means what? They are expecting, okay, export default value as like a component or not. This is only the proof. See, from the layout, they're exporting, okay, they're expecting a React component with the export default or not. Yes or no? Got my point? Agreed, everyone?
Yes, sir.
From this particular layout.js, they're expecting a React component. They're expecting what? A React component with default or without default? With the default or not. But it's a framework. You have to follow their guidelines. They already set the guidelines. What I am looking for layout.js, that is the first guideline. From the layout.js, I'm looking for one export default value. That export default value should be a component. That export default value should be a component or not. Yes or no? Okay, so that you should not change this one to export. Export default should be there. Okay, now this name can be anything. Why? If it is like export default, you can refer that particular export default value with any name or not. You can refer that export default value with any name or not. Yes or no? Got your point? Up to okay. So now come here. This A they are using like a component. The A they are using like a component. That export default value they referred with any name. So root layout is the name. So this is the component. So how we can use the component in React as like a element format or not? Either you can use like this, either you can use like this. Root layout and close my root layout. Yes or no? Either you can use self-closing, either you can use okay open and close. Whenever you see the component with some props, if the prop name is like a children, now tell me the component is like self-closing or the component should like open close. Tell me. Whenever the component get some values, it's nothing but get the props with the key of children, then that time the component should be in this format or in this format. If the children
Second one.
component is in this format or not, yes or no? So this is not the one. They written like that. Got my point? Okay, how you can assume? Okay, why? Because the prop whose key is like a children means they are going to pass like a children or not. They are going to pass like a children. Understood everyone? So that children is here na. Here the children is what? The children is what? That is the question. Okay, which children they passed? Which children they passed to this particular component? That children only rendered inside the body or not? That is the question. Anyone knows? Hmm? Okay, it is depending upon your routing. Okay, now routing is nothing but what, in my local host 3000 URL, if you observe, do we have any route is like home, okay, is like about, is like contact? Do we have any route? First
No.
time, do we have any route? No, right? If the path is like an empty, if the route is like an empty, okay, they are looking for what, see, React is a framework. Okay, they already set the guidelines you have to follow. Whenever if my path is like empty, nothing, path is like an empty, it is looking for app folder. In the app folder, looking for page.js file. In the page.js file, they are looking for export default component. That component only pass as a children to your root layout. Here the root layout or not. Understood? Okay, now see the steps. Path is like empty or not? Yes or no? Yes. It is looking for what? App folder. Now check. App folder there or not there? There or not there? Yes. In the app folder looking for what? Looking for what? Page.js file. There or not there? In the page.js looking for what? Export default component. There or not there? Component name can be anything. That is not a matter. Export default is only one. Export default component. There or not there? That component only they pass as a children. So which component they passed now? Home component they passed or not? That home component you pass it to the root layout. Now my root layout to render that component inside the body, so that my home component rendered inside the body or not. Yes or no? Whenever you render the home component, okay, what you have in the body? Hello Sachin, so that my Sachin is visible to the end user or not. Understood? On. Okay. The next one is like if my path is like about. If my path is like about, then how it is going to work? You can check it. I'm going to write something like this. Okay. Okay, if it is like arrow functions, inline it's not work, so that you have to write outside. Okay, for example, this is my about. Okay, now my about exported with default or without default? With default or without default? With default or without default? About with default, right? Okay, now if you come here, will it work or not? You can check it. Will it work or not work? Yes, working, right? Okay, if you have a doubt, can I change this one? Now see, working or not? Now tell me, if my path is like about, what guidelines you have to follow? Can anyone guess? If my path is like about, come on, looking for which folder? App folder. Inside the app folder, looking for what? If my path is nothing, page.js. If my path is like about, in the app folder, looking for which folder? About folder. In the about folder, looking for which file? Page.js file. In the page.js file, looking for which component? Export default component. Pass as a children. Okay, that export default component pass as a children to root layout. Yes or no? Come on. Agreed, ah? So for good. Okay, whenever I see these are the guidelines, okay, these guidelines, it's a framework. You have to follow their guidelines. Whenever the path is like about, okay, you have to do what in the app folder only, not outside. Okay, you have to create the about and you have to write like a page.js. For example, okay, you remove export default, you can write like a export. Can anyone guess what exactly the error was? From the page.js, they are looking for what? Export default component. That is there or not there? Not there. So that it is not a React component, right? Say the default export is undefined, is not a React component or not. Yes or no? That the reason. What you have to do? They are looking for export default. You have to follow their guidelines. You are not the person to set the guidelines. It's working or not? Okay, about services. Services. These services there are not there. Come on. If my path is like services, exact same steps. If my path is like services, okay. If my path is like services, looking for what? App folder. In the app folder, looking for what? Services folder. In the services folder, looking for what? Page.js. In the page.js, looking for what? Export default component. Pass as a children to root layout or not. Pass as a children to root layout or not. Yes or no? What is my point? Understood, everyone? So that is not there. I'm looking for the services, I'm looking for the page.js. That is not there. That's the reason 404 not found error. You can get it. So can I create in the app folder? Which folder you want me to create? Which folder you want me to create? Services is the folder. Why services folder only? My path is like services only. Whenever I created a folder, still it is looking for one of the file page.js. Now, can I write like a page.js file? Now, page.js file is there. It is looking for page.js file. In the page.js file, looking for what? Export default component. But export default component is not there. So that the value is like undefined. That undefined, they use it like a React component. Is my undefined is a React component? No, right? So that it gives me an error. So, okay, React arrow export to default component. I want export to default component. So, can I write like export default services? Just name naming convention wise I'm using like services. Okay, just if you come here, this is my services space and this is my services space. Okay, let me delete this export. Let me delete this export. Okay, na? Okay, now you can check the services there or not there. Okay, now if nothing is there, okay, first hello Sachin. If my path is like home, yes, not there, that's okay. About there or not there, yes, there. Okay, services there or not there, yes, there, but my home is not there. Home is not there. So what you have to do? You have to create the home, right? Okay, create one more folder. Okay, this is my home folder. In the home folder, looking for which file? Looking for which file?
Page.js.
Page.js file or not?
Sir, is it
Or-
mandatory to specify the same name page.js?
Yeah, of
Can
course,
we
right.
make it
Okay,
home.js?
yeah, for example, okay, can I write like something else? Okay, na? Home.
Home.js. Okay.
Home.js. Okay, na? Now, if you come here, can I go home? Okay, it gives me what? Could not.
Page not.
Okay, in the home.js, you can write export default component, export to default. Okay, component is like home component, for example. Okay, na? Now, if you come here, okay, home, will it work or not work? You can check it. You can check it. Now, if you come here, My home is there, but it gives me 404. Why 404? Why? Because I'm looking for the home, I'm looking for page.js, that file is not there. If I change this one to page.js simply, now if you come here, if I refresh my page, my home is working or not. It means what? They set the guidelines you have to follow. Why? Because next is what? It's a framework, right? Yes or no? It is
Yes.
one future for next. It's like folder based routing. Okay, file based routing or not. Got my point?
So one more quick question. What is the shortcut that you write to get the skeleton when you create a new page?
The skeleton, you can, if you want to get it, go to the extension section. In the extension section, just you can add this extension ES7 React Redux React Native Snippets.
Okay.
Okay, once you added this particular extension in your VS Code, okay, you can go to your application. Okay, that means you can go to your VS Code editor. Just you can type like React Arrow functional component, React Arrow functional. Okay, see here, React Arrow functional component, export component. Okay, functional component with prop type. So like this, different you can get.
Okay.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
understood everyone up to here?
Sir, can you ping? Okay, it's fine.
Go ahead, go ahead.
The video. Yeah. No, I was saying, can you ping that extension name? Can you show it one more time?
Go here. This is the extension.
Okay.
Share this one in the chart. Okay, add it. Okay, na? Up to okay, everyone?
Yes. Sir, another question.
Yeah, go.
If we have home, we have one page, right? Page.js.
Yes.
So if I want to add another page in the home folder, so what should I refer it to? Will it be page.js or I will have to
No,
create a
says page.js is like a main one. Okay, if you want to add multiple components in this particular one itself, you can add any number of components or not. Got my point?
yes.
Okay, in the home, if you want to add multiple, okay, multiple pages, the root one is like page.js export default component only. Remaining all you can load in this particular section. Got my point?
Okay. Can you show sir example? Means what I want localhost colon 3000, right? Slash home. And if we consider home slash A and home slash B,
Yeah, tell me localhost slash
uh,
3000 slash
3000 slash home
home
slash A,
a.
and same you can copy paste, replace A with B, same URL. So A would
Okay,
render different.
that one, right? Okay. Now
Yeah.
here, if you remove this one, okay, it's like hierarchy based, right? Here, I'm looking for what? A, right? Okay, inside this one, can you create one more folder? Okay, inside this one, can I create page.js? Okay,
Yes.
React Arrow functional component. Okay, with the default, this is the A component now. This is my A component. Okay, but this is inside where? Inside my home. Okay, yeah, that's all. Now can you
Yeah.
come here? My home is this one. That's okay. Okay, now whenever it is like home A, now home A, now this is my home A.
Yes, sir.
Okay, high level, which structure you followed? Okay, just based on the routes, you can follow the same structure. Okay, here the thing is, this is one folder. Inside the folder page.js with export default component. Inside this one, A is one folder. Inside that folder page.js with export default component. If it is nothing, then the time page.js only. Got my point? Any questions, anyone? Anyone have any questions? No? Okay then. Now the next one, I need, okay, the structure, okay, the layout should looks like this. Now this is my layout. Okay. In this layout, my header is this. My header is this one, and my footer is this, and my menu is this. Okay, in the menu, in the header, you can write some text. Okay, in the menu, just I want three menu items. It's like home, okay, and about and contact. Okay, three menu items, home, about, contact. Now here I need a footer, and if I click on the home should display here. Okay, if my path is like home should display, about should display, contact should display. This is my requirement. Yes or no? So how many routes are there in this particular requirement overall? Home, about, services, right? Okay, or contact. How many routes?
Three routes: home, about, contact.
Second, how many routes? Hmm?
Three routes, sir.
Overall,
Home, about,
four
contact.
routes. Home,
Four
about,
routes. Oh,
contact, no route also.
no
No
routes.
route also. Okay, four routes. Na? Okay, four routes already implemented. Yes, no? This is one route. Nothing is there. Okay. Content we'll see later. Home is one route. Done. Na? The next one is like what? About is one route. Okay, the next one is like what? Services, for example. Services is like one route or yes, sir. Agree with me? Got the point? Okay, but now I want a home, okay, header footer menu, right? Now header footer menu or routes or not? Come on, header footer menu or routes are not? Tell me, simple, right? Header is the router, slash header, am I written anywhere? Is my header is like a route? Hmm? No, right? My footer is a route? No, right? Okay, so routing related stuff, can you write in the app? Routing related, not. Those components can you write in the source? Okay, I need a clean separation. Routing related, always looking for which folder? Did you observe? App folder. Okay, app folder, app folder. Always looking for which folder? App folder. So routing related stuff in the app folder. But which are not routing, header, footer, menu, those are don't place in the don't place. Okay, those are don't place in our, come on, those are don't place where, come on, here, those are don't place in your app folder. Can you place in the source? Yes or no? So in the source, which components you want me to create? Can anyone guess which components you want me to create in the source? Which components you want me to create? Header component, na? Header. Next, in the source, which component? Footer. Next, in the source, which component? Header, footer. Next, in the source, which component you want me to create? Menu component or sorry, header, footer, and menu. Okay, na? So where you want me to load this header and footer and menu? Hmm?
Sir, at layout,
Right, you are right. Layout or not? Yes or no? Why? Because layout only the root one. In the layout, if you observe, this children is like a routing related component. Yes or no? Okay, before routing related component, I want menu, I want header. After routing related component, I want like what? Footer or not? Yes or no? So that can we create one header component? So my header.jsx, okay, React arrow functional component. This is my header. Okay, like this. Can I create one more component like a menu also? So menu.jsx, don't go with the JS also works, but recommended to go with the JSX. The next one is like footer, footer.jsx. Okay, if it is like JSX React arrow functional component, that footer, na? These three components where you want me to place? Come on, high level. These three components where you want me to place?
Layout in main.
In my layout, right? My layout, my app, in my layout.js. Okay, I want like what? Header component. Yes, I want like menu component. Okay, I want like footer component or not. Yes or no? See, all are like imported or not. At the rate is nothing but source. Okay, whenever you create an application, they asked you pointing your import statement with source or not. You said yes. So from the source, go for what? Header component. Okay, header folder. In the header folder, go for what? Header.jsx. It is like export default or without default. Export without default, so that how we can import it with the destructuring format or not. Yes or no? So if you come here, okay, now see my header and my menu and my footer and my service. Why the service? Okay, here the folder, okay, the path is like service or not. If nothing is there, my header and menu, my hello Sachin and footer or not. Yes or no? In the menu, what you want? Simple. Okay, after that we can write and design the page. In the menu, actually what you want? Simply, okay, anchor, home I want. Next, anchor, about I want. Next, anchor, services. Services I want. Where you want me to go? href equals to, instead of okay, instead of anchor, we are going to use like link tag also. I will show you that one. For now, you know, anchor default functionalities like route one page to another page or not. Okay, about the next one, my href equals to, okay, services. Services. Now save this. Now see, if I click on the services, now you can see the services or not. Okay, why this one not saved or what? Okay, home, menu, footer, header, that's okay, fine. If I click on the above, okay, above. If I click on the home. If I click on the services. Okay, there is something wrong with the services. Okay, export to default to services. Export default services, that's okay. The menu href is like what? service services only, no? So why whenever it's like services, home menu is like visible? That's something wrong. Nothing is there. Okay, if I click on the about only. If I click on the home only. If I click on the services, it is showing something like this. The layout.js, then menu, services. Mm, services, page.js, button, export default, services. Services is like predefined stuff or something like that. Okay, can you check this one once? Why this is okay, not showing like home about. Okay. Anyway, we are going to check in tomorrow's session. Okay. So up to here, can you complete first? Up to here, can you complete the Next.js application? The same application I want to do like 5 times. Okay, 5 applications. I want to do the same. Okay, na? Any questions, anyone? Anyone have any questions? Okay, then. Thank you guys. Thanks for joining.